man, it's the Hellion from the Hellion Rocks. We've got a special guest today, John Corabi. How you doing, John?
I'm all right. How are you?
Excellent, man. We're keeping the heartbeat of rock and roll alive. We're bringing new music, old music, everything we can to the ears of the people that aren't listening to corporate radio. So thank you for calling in, man.
No worries, man. Thank you.
So let's jump right into it. I'm super excited. You know, I've always been a fan of yours, man. I've always listened to your music. I've always enjoyed everything you've done, which has been a lot of stuff in the past, helping other people and, you know, doing your own thing. But now I hear you've got a new record coming out.
Well, I just released, it's probably been out about 6 months or so. I released an acoustic record, and I'm in the process of writing some material for a new electric album, and hopefully we'll have that out by 2014 and, you know, onward and upward, as they say, you know.
Beautiful. So it's fantastic, man. A lot of great reviews, a lot of positive response. And new songs are fantastic as well. You know, I appreciate you putting some new music out, man. It's awesome. But, you know, what can you tell us about the new stuff you got in the works?
Well, you know, it's an electric record. There's, you know, it's pretty cool. I don't think it's going to be quite as heavy as, say, some of the stuff on the Motley record. But, you know, there will be, you know, I like everything, man. I'm such a huge fan of all different types of music. So I'm just putting things into the pot and stirring it up, and, you know, hopefully, you know, the best songs will rise to the top, and that's what we'll put on the record. So, right now I have a ton of ideas. I have some songs that are already finished. And it's just getting into a room now and bashing them out with the guys in my band and you know, getting them committed to tape or actually computer now as it is. But it's going to be cool. I mean, I've got some stuff that's very Zeppelin-esque and stuff that's a little heavier, you know what I mean? But it's I don't think, like I said earlier, I don't think it's going to be quite as heavy as some of the heavier stuff on the Motley record. But I would say right now, like, majority of the stuff leans a little more towards, if people are familiar with my back catalog, it's probably somewhere between like Union and the Scream, the stuff.
Nice. Scream is one of my favorite bands. I wish I could have heard more from. So good deal. I can't wait for that. I know you're out on the road doing a lot of acoustic shows, and I've talked to several people that have seen them, and they've got nothing but rave reviews of that.
Well, you know what it is? It's more like you know, I try to not, you know, to me it's funny. Like, when I was growing up, I had an uncle, and that used to tell me, like, when you go to a show, if the band just goes out and plays the stuff exactly like the record, then you probably could have just stayed home and listened to the record and not paid the extra money for the tickets, for the T-shirt, for the parking, for the beer, like all that other stuff. So when I do things, whether it's electrically or acoustically, I like to just have fun and keep it loose and, you know, just have people walk away from the thing, you know, the show, and just say, hey, you know what? That was pretty cool. It was laid back. It was fun, but it was cool. Like, everybody played well, sang well, but it was just a fun experience. So when I do the acoustic things, I just kind of sit down and I try to cover all the bases. You know, I tell people, what some of the inspirations were behind some of the songs. There's a couple of cover songs that I do, and there's a reason why I do them. Like, you know, first off and foremost, I like the song. But, like, I do Seasons of Wither by Aerosmith, and there's a story behind that. And you know, in the short, you know, a short chopped up version, basically, I had the good fortune of sitting down on a couch with Steven Tyler and doing Seasons of Wither with him together when I was in Motley, we were just kind of noodling around one day, and he just kind of sat down and we played it together and sang it, and it's just something that stuck with me for, you know, my whole life, you know what I mean? So I like sharing that with everybody. So I try to keep it loose and fun and a little informative, but, you know, that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Cool. You know, it's funny that you said that, because prior to your phone call, I was talking with Michael Riza. He's the second guitar player in Frank Hannon's band. And he caught you on the Monsters of Rock tour, and it says to say hi to you, by the way. And we had that same conversation about going to a rock show or, you know, any kind of live music show and getting a show, you know, not being per the record, you know, it's a live performance, you know, with all its imperfections and changes and stuff to suit the audience. So it's cool you said that. Yeah,
well, it's just weird. Like, you know, my uncle wasn't a musician, but he was a very wise guy, you know, and he used to just sit there and say, look, you know, if people want to hear the record, they can stay home and hear the record and save the money. They already purchased the record, you know, so when you do live shows, you know, give them something to, you know, laugh about or, you know, just something a little different, you know what I mean? Whether it's in a different arrangement or, you know, a jam or just a cool story or whatever. And, you know, between my mother and father and you know, my uncle, they all took me to a bunch of different shows when I was younger. And you know, I'm talking everybody from, you know, bands like Kiss and Deep Purple and, you know, to even stuff like Frank Sinatra and artists like that. And I just kind of took in what they did and how they approached things. And there's certain things that stand out and stick out for me, you know. And one of the best shows that I've ever seen in my life, you know, I was probably 13 or 14, maybe a little older, 15. And I had the great opportunity to go see in a theater in New Jersey. I got to see Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin together.
Wow, nice.
And it wasn't like, I was obviously blown away at their talent of being able to sing and how they arranged the bands and how the bands followed them and all that other stuff. But the coolest part of the show was the banter between the two guys. And it was hilarious. And, it was such a great show that I always kind of remembered that. I'm like, man, these people paid like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I mean, I'm talking back in the 70s. You know, they spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars to see these two guys do their thing. And they walked out of there, had probably the most amazing time ever, or amazing show ever. And a lot of it was just the banter between Frank and Dean. And it was pretty cool, man. I got to be honest with you. So I always remembered that. And I'm like, so when I'll go do a show and I kind of banter with different people in the audience and kid with them, or I'll see maybe somebody in the back, like 6 or 7 rows back. I'll just see somebody like yawn or text, and I'll kid with them. I'll just like stop for a second and I'll be like, hey, you in the back there with the texting right now, you know, and like I'll just and get the whole audience laughing about the banter between me and that person. You know what I mean? So I try to keep it light.
Nice. And that's cool. That's what we want. You know, that's going to a show, you know, it's supposed to take you away from your day-to-day stuff and transport you to another world. And that's cool that you're carrying that on. I can totally get that.
I just, you know, I love what I do but I'm really not one for like, you know, I don't want to say these bands or whatever that, you know, like you do a set, you can do the same 10 or 12 songs every night in a set, or 15 songs or 17, whatever it is. But the audience is going to be different every night, and different things are going to happen every night. So, like a lot of bands I know, like they write raps like in between songs, and it's the same every night you see them, and I don't really care for that. So I just kind of keep it loose and I kid with the audience, whether it's acoustically or electrically, whatever. I still kind of screw around and have some fun and, you know, just try to give them a great time, period. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Beautiful. You know, I've got to ask, what's always been a question I've had in my mind is, is there a defining moment that made it for you that you said, I've got to do this. This is what I've got to do for a living?
Well, it was really weird. I never knew, I never really thought about the actual living part. I just wanted to play. I just remember seeing, you got to remember too, early 70s, the Beatles had already come and gone, and I kind of started getting into them late. But I just, I remember as a really, really, really young kid, hearing songs that my mom would play, Let It Be and all this other kind of stuff. And, when I finally saw, video footage of them or, reruns of them when they were on the Ed Sullivan Show and different things like this and throughout their career, I just kind of, I don't know, there was something about that band, just the feedback from the audience and just the musicianship there. I'm like, God, I was just so enamored with them when I was younger, and I still am. And, I just said, man, I want to do that. And then it was weird, probably around 16, 17 years old, I was starting to do the bands and starting to do the covers and learning, songs by Queen and Rod Stewart and Zeppelin and Aerosmith and all these bands and going out and playing in clubs. And then I started to get paid for it. I'm like, wow, this is cool. I can do something that I'm absolutely in love with and make money. You know what I mean? So that's when I really started getting, when I realized I could make money doing something I really loved doing, I really started getting super into it, you know what I mean? Really planning and trying to write music and just figuring out how to be the best or, the best performer I could be, the best guitar player I could be, whether it was working on my tone or just whatever. It's when I realized I could make money at it and have a career at it, that's when I really started getting into it. So I was probably, at that point, 16, 17 years old, 18.
Cool, man. We're pretty close in age, you and I, so I remember a lot of those things. One of the conversations that's come up several times recently for me is the fact that back then in the day, people made art and made music for the true love of making it. I'm glad that you said that. Monetary recompense was not first in their mind. So they wrote iconic songs from the heart, from their mind, from their soul. And we still have those songs that live today. And unfortunately now it's kind of flip-flop. There's a lot of artists out there that are money first, art later. So I'm glad to see that artists like yourself are still out there making it.
Well, it's just weird because, so far for me, I've been blessed to be, some things have worked out, some things haven't, but it's I really can't dwell on that part of it. But when I look back at each record I've done, each producer I worked with, came to the table and said, certain songs that maybe, the record companies weren't quite into, the producers kind of flexed their muscle and helped, get some of the songs on the record. And I'm a firm believer in this. I used to like records that were eclectic, but as a body of work. I never looked at a song as, I can't explain it, but Stairway to Heaven is obviously a great song. You know what I mean? but the body of work on Led Zeppelin 4 as a whole is genius. You know what I mean? It's like when you listen to Black Dog, and then you listen to the Battle of Evermore, and Going to California, and then you have Misty Mountain Hop, and When the Levee Breaks, and Stairway to Heaven, and Rock and Roll. Like the whole thing, the whole package was awesome. And I've always tried to, not that I think to do things like that, but I'm not afraid to do things like that, because I think, you know, that's what I miss about music. That's what I love about music. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I just love when like, I kind of miss vinyl, to be honest with you, and records. And like the art, the old artwork. Like, you'd get the record and open up the artwork, and, you know, just this big, you know, beautiful drawing on the front or something in the back, and you'd read the, you know, lyrics if they were there, or the credits, like who produced it and who mastered it, and just all that stuff, man. It just kind of, the whole thing just took you, not just musically, like the whole thing. It was a package. It took you somewhere out of your element. And, you know, and so when I did the Scream record, I worked with Eddie Kramer, who, you know, worked with Zeppelin, and he worked with all these, you know, the Beatles and the Stones and Frampton and Kiss and all these great bands. So when he heard songs like Man in the Moon, or I Don't Care, or even a song like Catch Me If You Can that was on the Scream record, when he heard that, he was headbanging in our rehearsal room, and he was like, every record needs one of these songs. Like, it needs one of these songs. But he also wasn't afraid to let us do songs that were 5 and 6 minutes long, because, you know, Bob Rock wasn't afraid of Motley doing Misunderstood, which was almost 7 minutes long. You know what I mean? And it was like, no, it's a great song. It takes you somewhere. And I've done this even with Union. With we did a song that was, you know, 6 minutes or so, 6+ minutes, called Let It Flow. And you know, I just like those things. I like those epic kind of songs that just, you know, whatever. I like using different instruments. Not like, you know, I like using orchestration. I like, you know, it's just all part of the story. It's all part of the journey. So I feel like it should be that way. You know what I mean? My favorite time frame for music is probably, you know, from whenever, I mean, I like the early Beatles, but to me, like, once the Beatles started getting, like, really super creative and flexing their muscles as far as different styles of music, you know, once they started getting into records like Revolver, Rubber Soul, Sgt. Pepper's, like, there was all these different elements and tastes and flavors and whatever to their records. And from that point, probably all through the 70s, you know, old bands like Deep Purple and Zeppelin and old Aerosmith and Humble Pie. And, you know, I listen to everything. And up until probably around, you know, 78, 79, you know, 80, it was just, I think that was probably the greatest 15 years of music, you know, or 13 years of music or whatever, you know, 15, I think it was 15 years of music. I don't see anything touching it since. So.
Yeah, I agree, man. All that, the great iconic songs, you know, you can put on a song from some of the bands you've mentioned, and it instantly takes me away to, you know, a different place. But
it was also too, like, there was also an element of, like, just, I don't know, just, I don't want to say freedom, but just freedom. Like, I don't know about you, but, like, I would go see some pretty crazy bands, you know, like, I remember in Philadelphia seeing bands like Yes. You know, I saw Yes on the Going for the One tour, and I don't, you know, but it was like, you just never knew who the opening act was going to be. I saw Kiss several times, and the opening act was Bob Seger.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know who he was. You know what I mean? So that was the other thing. Like, I think, you know, or when you think about concerts like Woodstock, or you think about the first Cal Jam, you know, and the second one,
right.
the bands that were on the bill, you know, like Woodstock, you had The Who, Jimi Hendrix, Santana, you had Mountain, you had Janis Joplin, but then you had a guy like Richie Havens, like some acoustic, you know, acoustic guys at Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. So there was like this whole different, like you could go to see one band and then be totally turned on by another, and it was okay. You know what I mean? It was okay. And they don't do that now. Like bands that travel together, like they try and package bands that sound or are similar, have the same audience. And it's weird to me. I don't understand why more bands don't, you know what I mean? Like more bands like don't step out of their own genre of music to have somebody else either co-headline or play with them. You know what I mean? So I miss all that shit.
Yeah, I do too, man. I miss a lot of that, and you know, I'm glad that, you know, you have that like mind. I could see you doing something like that. It'd be very cool.
Well, it was just weird. It was, what was it, a couple, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Like I you know, I'm not a big country. I don't want to say I'm not a big country music fan, but I don't have any I really don't have any country music records. You know what I mean? But I hear some things, whatever, and I just appreciate music. But I thought it was great. Like a couple of years ago, I think Kenny Chesney went out with Sammy Hagar.
Right, that'd be cool, man.
And they were playing football stadiums. I'm like, how cool is this? This is awesome, because there's a guy from rock and roll, Van Halen, Ronnie Montrose, had his own solo career. Now he's playing with this huge country star, and the two of them together are billed, and they played here in Nashville at the Titan Stadium. You know what I mean? And it was sold out, completely sold out. It was such a great idea, and I'd like to see more bands do that.
I saw just recently, in fact, it was a week ago Saturday, I saw Hank 3 play, and I don't know if you're familiar with that. He does a 3-hour set, and his first set's straight up old country, old country. Mm-hmm. Then he does like a rockabilly set, and then he does this experimental set. And I saw, like you just said, I saw a diverse crowd there. There was a ton of people there, and there was like young hard rockers, and there was, you know, hardcore country people. And everybody got along, and they enjoyed it, and it was a great experience. So yeah, I can imagine that being cool.
Well, it's the same too with you know who else I really kind of, you know, admire his mentality is Kid Rock. I mean, if you sit down and you look, he's done kind of rap rock stuff. Then he did he had a huge song with Sheryl Crow, you know, and it's weird. Like he's in Nashville quite a bit as well. He's got a place here. And, you know, it's funny, like I went to see Bob Seger here, and Kid Rock came out and did a song with him. You know what I mean? And it's just cool because that guy, like, really understands rock and roll, really understands rap, really understands country, and he uses it all. And I'm like, God, what a great way to kind of set yourself up to be like. So Kid Rock could literally go out and play a show and have a rap artist be his opening act. He could have a country artist be his opening act, or he could have a rock band be his opening act. How cool is that?
Yep.
What now?
Reach out about reaching all the bases. You know, he can take the demographics wherever he's at and make the best of it.
Yeah, but it's not contrived either. You know what I mean? He truly listens to all of that shit, and it's just amazing to me. It's awesome. I love that.
Cool. So you're getting back on you, on talking about you're doing your...
Nah, let's not talk about me. Let's talk about somebody that's interesting.
You are, man. You are. You're going to finish out your tour. You're unfortunately not coming anywhere near New Mexico where I am, but it looks like you're going to be going overseas and then back into the States to finish the record, or what's the plan?
Well, right now, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm like, it's really great. Like, Rat Pack Records has done a great job for me, and I have a great new manager, a great new agent, and everybody's really swinging the bat for me. And, you know, so there's some stuff that, you know, I'm doing, like right now, I'm just kind of doing like some weekend shows. You know, I'll do like a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I'll come home and then, you know, here for a couple days and back out. So this month, I just finished the weekend. I've got a weekend coming up here where I'm in Idaho and Nebraska, and then come home, and then I do a show in Michigan, 2 in Illinois, and then I come home and I go to Europe. Then when I'm back from Europe, my girlfriend and I do a charity event here in Nashville every year for Toys for Tots. So we do that on December 6th. And then the 7th and 8th, I've got a couple shows in Sacramento and Reno with Frank Hannon. And then the following weekend, I'm in Canada. You know what I mean? So I'm slammed till the end of the year. And then, you know, but in the meantime, like these days that I have off in between, I want to get into the rehearsal room with my band and start working up a great acoustic set, a great electric set, and then start working up some of this new material. And I don't really have a date yet to get into the studio. I don't want to put anything out there because to me personally, like if I sit here and say, yeah, I'm going to have a record ready by February or March or whatever, as much as I would like to, I know how I am and I know how I think. And if it's not ready or the material's not ready to be recorded, if I don't feel like it's just spot on, I'm just not going to go into a studio until the music is ready to go. And I'm not releasing the record until I feel like it's just amazing. So I can't really give you a date, but I am shooting to have a record out in 2014. So that's all I can tell you at this point.
We'll stay on top of it. Talk about your band. Who do you got playing with you?
Well, you know, I haven't really had a totally set band for, you know, for years. But right now, I still have Topher, my bass player, Topher Nolan. He's still playing bass with me. I'm giving my son just moved out here from California. He moved here to Nashville to be close to Dad, and you know, we were just kind of talking, and that's one of the things I want to get into a room and see how he is handling some of the Motley stuff. But he's going to probably play drums for me, you know, from this point on. So I got my kid playing drums, and then I'm going to, you know, I'm just working on the guitar player thing. I have a guy named Jeremy that I've been writing with, and he's awesome, you know, so it's probably going to be me, Jeremy, my sonny, and Topher. And then, but some of the other guys like D.A. Carcos, Matt Farley, that I recorded on the acoustic record, they're both great songwriters and music producers and things like this. So I'm probably still going to work with DA and DA mainly to help me get some of the material together for this record. So it should be cool.
Beautiful. Awesome. You know, I didn't want to really get into this, but I've got to say that, you know, I've listened to Motley forever. And that record you made with Motley is a standout record for me out of all of them. It, you know, it to me is their swan song for the say. I think it's the best work that they ever did, and I think it's probably the best work they're ever going to do.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's really funny. Like, I've been talking with Mick quite a bit, and, we're still all friends, and but Mick actually, he did an interview recently, and somebody asked him what his favorite record was, and of all the records that they've done, and he basically said that it was the one that he did with me, and, so Mick and I were just talking, and I basically thanked him for the plug, and he's like, Mick, he's funny, he's a great dude, and he's just like, wow, whatever, Corabi, I meant it, so great guy. I loved working with that band. I think, to be honest with you, I'm not slagging any of their other material at all, but I feel that everybody really came to the table on that record musically, playing wise, and we had a blast, man. It was awesome. So, I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, it reached me on many different levels, and, not just a woohoo, rock and roll party, it was a serious record with some serious music on it, and I, for one, got to give you a personal thanks for making that record.
Yeah, no worries. Believe me, I had a blast doing it, and a lot of people ask me, like, all the time, like, what was it like being in Motley? And I joke, and I just say, oh, what I remember of it, it was awesome. But honestly, that was a great time for all of us. We were just so wide-eyed and excited about every riff and every note that we were laying down. And I just remember certain things, like when we did, when we did Drift Away, I remember getting a phone call from Tommy. We were at a hotel, and we lived at this hotel in Vancouver for like 7 months, 8 months, and we had laid the track down, and Tommy was gone for a few days, so he didn't hear it. He went, I forget what he was doing. He was in LA or something like that. He came back up, and I had already laid like the guitar tracks down, Mick and I sang like a lead vocal, and we were putting some of the backing vocals on, and so he got back to the studio, and he asked for a copy of the tune, and he took it to his room, and he called me. I was already back in my room, and he called me, and he was like, dude, like, this fucking song is amazing, man. It's so fucking beautiful. Like, and he was like, dude, I'm freaking, I got goose pimples, man. Like, it's like, this song is brilliant. And he was like, dude, I was crying earlier. It's so good. And we were just all like that. You know what I mean? Like, having the orchestra in with us for Misunderstood, and just all the different stuff that was happening, man. It was just so cool. And we were, all of us, Nikki, Tommy, me, Mick, we were all wide-eyed and excited as that record started to blossom. So I'll never forget that. And, regardless of what the fans think, I do get along with the guys. I do, appreciate what they've done before me and after me. And at the end of the day, Motley Crue is Tommy, Nikki, Mick, and Vince. But I will always be the asterisk next to their name, and I'm cool with that. And being that asterisk has allowed me to continue touring the world and doing what I do. So I have nothing but positive, great thoughts of that whole thing. So it's all good.
That's cool. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful you said that. I wasn't detracting from Molly. I love them. I always will love them. But in my opinion, that record speaks to me above all.
Well, I appreciate it, brother.
I know you're busy. I've taken up a lot of your time. Anything you want to tell the fans? My site and my show goes out to 145 countries around the world. The floor is yours to say whatever you want to say.
Well, I want to thank, first off and foremost, I want to thank everybody for, honestly, the last 25 years of my life, or 24 years or whatever it's been. I've been recording and traveling and playing, and I just want to thank everybody for their support and continuing to come to the shows and writing to me on Facebook and all this other stuff. And, you know, and hopefully I can do this for another 25 years. And you know, I just hope to see everybody at the shows, and just stay tuned, you know, for new music and some new news that, you know, may be coming shortly. But, you know, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Reverb Nation, you know, so just stay tuned. And again, thank you for everything.
Very cool. And I want to thank Rat Pack Records for putting me in touch with you and getting this interview possible. They're awesome people. I've worked with them in the past, and I'm real happy with them working with you. Yeah,
they're amazing people, you know, and you know, I say it all the time, man. I would give, you know, like being on a big major label and, you know, is great, but at the end of the day, like these guys, you know, all of them, Joe, Jen, Tina, they all, you know, like I talk to them all like almost every day, and they genuinely give a shit about, you know, it's like their mission in life, you know, to make sure that everybody on the planet knows who John Corabi is. So I just appreciate that whole attitude and you know, their strive to make this happen. So it's all good. Life is good, man.
Good. Thank you, John Corabi. This has been The Hellion with the Hellion Rocks. John Corabi, pay attention, join him on Facebook, check out Rat Pack Records, watch them coming around your town hopefully soon, and we're out.